Mm-hmm.
So
Welcome.
I have officially started the recording and you could begin your
Okay.
workshop.
Welcome everyone to the Poetry for Personal Power Story Circle. And we're glad you're taking some time out of your evening to come and be and helping to build community. My name is Deborah Wilcox and I'm part of the P3 Poetry for Personal Power team. And the rest of the team core members are going to introduce themselves as well. So I'll turn that over to Brian and Juliana and Chris, and so move forward.
Good day and welcome. My name is Brian B. Coming to you from Colorado. Everybody's got a story. This is a chance to share and claim your voice, your story, and as well to be heard. Thanks for being here. Juliana?
Yep, I'm Juliana. I'm the Director of Programming for Poetry for Personal Power, and I'm excited to be here to share how we work our wellness with all of you.
Thank you. And Bobby?
I'm Bobby Marsh Jr. I'm an admin facilitator, and I'm welcoming you guys to join us and learn everything you can.
Thank you, Bobby. Okay. Chris?
Hi, my name is Chris Mulvaney. I'm coming to you all from Littleton, Colorado. I am a member of the P3 team, and I will actually be co-facilitating the story circle with you all tonight. So you'll hear a lot of my voice.
Thank you, Chris. Amber?
I'm Amber. I am from Thornton, Colorado, and I too am co-facilitating with Chris. And so welcome. Whatever is said in story stays in story, and this is a safe space for everybody.
Thank you, Amber. And Marianne?
Absolutely. My name is Marianne Migliorelli. I am coming to you from Boulder, Colorado, former New Yorker. So very excited to see folks from home in our story circle today. And you'll be hearing from me as part of the post story circle presentation.
Thank you. We'd like for everyone, if you would you come into the story circle visually? That would be a preference. Of course, you have a choice to stay out if you need to, but we'd like for you to come in. Well, you know, we're going to be talking about story circles, how to implement story circles within your community. But the real reason for story circle is to bring people together across our differences and to begin to share our life experiences, our lived experiences around working through distresses, sharing things that are breakthroughs for us, our wellness, setting our wellness goals, speaking to one another about our self-care, but more importantly, we're in community to get support, to work through issues and to stay in a situation where we have support, sustain community, and to build peer support, and also providers of services to develop relationships between peers and providers, so we begin to start to listen to one another, speak into listening to one another in a different kind of way, and make sure that we have shared power in our relationships, as our relationships are very egalitarian and very much into partnership. And we'll go into more detail around that. But most importantly, you are here. We're going to be building community, and I'm going to turn everything over to Chris and Amber, who are going to be our facilitators for this evening. Excited about having everyone here, excited about doing collective wellness work together. Brian?
Hey folks, before we get started, I just wanted to highlight something that Amber said. She's going to help lead the story circle today. A typical story circle means that what happens in story circles stays in story circle. Today is part of the NYAPRS conference, and that rule will be differently executed. So it is being recorded, and there are different people that are joining here. So you're invited to share as much or as little as you would like, or to just observe. But the typical confidentiality that is our practice in Story Circle is different today. So please be aware of that, and you will see other people being open and vulnerable. We invite you to do that as well if you choose. Thank you.
And also, the Story Circle is scheduled to go to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to go from 6:30 to 8:30. So there will be a small break at 7:45 for those who might want to go on to another workshop or to stay in the story circle, because part 2 of the story circle will be around how to implement story circles within your communities and within your organizations that you're affiliated with. And we'll have some discussion around that as well. So wanted to let you know, feel free to stay if you're interested in implementation of story circles, or if you need to go scoot on to another workshop or an event, that's fine as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn everything right now over to Chris and Amber.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Deb.
For sure.
Well, once again, my name's Chris. I will be leading us through this story circle tonight with the help of an entire team, as you can see. It's definitely, and myself and Amber, it's definitely a big group effort. And so just for a few, just to give you all a few housekeeping things, we typically do story circles in person, but as we know, it's a little bit different time now. And with this conference, we're on Zoom. And I say that because we typically have a stick we like to pass around. And the person, we do have the stick. Okay, if not, I was going to say we got the, I have a penguin we can use today. But we like to make sure that the talking stick is in the hands of the person who's talking. And whoever has that stick, they're the ones who are getting to speak, and the rest of us are actively listening. And to speak to what both Brian and Amber said, one of the most important parts of Story Circle, while it is an open space for all of us to speak, to answer our process questions, to really, you know, get what we have on our chest out there, it's also incredibly important to listen, to have everyone there listening, to feel that the people are hearing our voices and our stories as well. So it's just as important to listen. If you feel like that's what you want to do today, fantastic. And if you feel like you want to speak up, then that's great. And so, yeah, if we're ready, Amber, is there anything you want to add here before we jump into the theme, some art, and start asking these questions? Or Deb or anybody, anything we want to?
One of the things I like to do is share the purpose of this talking stick.
Sure.
This has been a Native American and traditional cultural kind of artifact that's used to promote voice and choice and democracy within traditional villages. And what it does is allow the person who has the talking stick gets full attention from everyone in the circle, because what's important is everyone's voice is very important, that we listen to one another very well and give everyone good attention, because good attention provides good vibes and good healing, effective healing. So that's why we use the talking stick, because it's culturally appropriate. And one of the things that Story Circle does, it brings people together across cultural differences. We have a very open space, a very confidential space, a safe space for us to be totally who we are as human beings and support each other in that. So the talking stick allows for good attention. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Amber. And just know we have it. If we were organic, we would pass it around, but just know you have a talking stick. Okay.
We got you on mute, Amber.
Well, I'll pass the talking stick to Chris because he has the first couple of points here. I believe, is Andre with us right now? Okay. Well, then Chris is going to start us off with some art.
Perfect. So what we're going to be doing today, when we do our story circles, myself and a lot of the other people involved, we got involved as artists in residence, because P3, we like to work with the poets. And so we normally like to open up the floor to art relevant to our theme. And today's theme, just to let everyone in on it, is small tweaks you can make in your own life which lead to big change. So we're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be breaking down these small tweaks, how to figure out these small tweaks, which will lead to big change in our own lives. So I will lead us off with a poem about about small tweaks, transformation, and changes. And then if anyone else does feel as if they would like to share some art, it can be poetry, it can be music, it can be anything, please raise the hand, raise the stick, and we can pass it forward. And from then we'll go on to our process questions and open up the floor to sharing. Yeah, so here we go. You're born, become alive. What will you do before you die? You're born, become alive. Will you take the reins before you die? You're born, become alive. Will you create before you die? You are born, become alive. Will you strive for greatness in this life? Listening deeply, I receive a prompt immediately to create. It says that each day is a blank canvas, but the paint ain't provided. The raw materials are abundant, but they must be collected and refined. We find that the breath greets the waking hours, but for this day to take face, the inner work must be laid out. In a dramatic fashion, adorned with specific tasks, tallied with empty boxes, waiting to be ticked. Each blocking stone must be turned and picked up, turned and removed, allowing the colors to roll through, creating a space to produce what we will soon be, thick and viscous. A quality attained through these coats stained and lasting shade, one that will weather days and weeks, even when it meets torrents. The change wind blows, both feet stand planted, even so they are active, sturdy, yet able to pivot and flow, go where new understandings and revelations show an abundance of new colors, new raw materials waiting to be sown. They are reminders of that inner work refinement and how brightly this canvas can be shining when we design the time to tidy monkey mind and all the corners and crevices hiding in the shadows of the heart. Don't let your pastel run dry or become boring, rife with dull tones and half-hearted blends. Set boundaries for yourself that do not break, only bend, amending to best frame each beautiful blank canvas day. Cool. All right.
Asheo,
Hey.
asheo,
Asheo.
asheo.
Great.
You know,
Well,
I was just thinking too, you know, when we speak to each other in the circle, if we would say our name and where we're from, and that way we could collectively get to know who we are together.
Yes.
perfect. Great idea. And for those who have been coming in, trickling in, if you do have the ability and feel comfortable to turn on your camera, we appreciate seeing everyone's faces. It's really nice to know that we're all here together, sharing and hearing one another's stories. So yeah, with that being said, what we're going to do now is roll into our process questions. We have a list of these, try to get through them all. And what we're doing with these questions is we're trying to dig deeper into that theme and help ourselves figure out these small tweaks we can make to lead to big changes. And so I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question. And from there, it's an open forum. As we said, if you would like to speak, if you can, we're going to do our best. We got a lot of people in here. So if you can hold up a hand, we will pass you the stick and the floor will be yours. So process question number 1 is, how does it feel to take a small step forward? Even if small, how does it feel to take a step forward, even if small? So give yourself some time to think. It looks like we have we're gonna go with Stephanie, then we'll pass it over to Amber Marsh. So Stephanie, the floor is yours.
It sort of feels like when you ever take a dive down at the bottom of a pool and stuff like that, and you feel brave enough to actually do it. It takes a lot of buildup to actually do it, but once you hit it, you're going down and down and down, and then you hit the point where your lungs are trying to expand and take you back up, and it's like this gravitational pull. But once you go up and you take that first breath, that's exactly what it feels like, that little step. Like I've been feeling this way. I've been feeling pressured under the water for so long that I finally get to come up for that air. And it's the smallest thing, it could be the smallest thing. Instead of laying in bed and letting it kind of wash over you, you get up and go for a walk instead. It's the smallest things.
Thanks, Stephanie. Where are you from, Stephanie?
Originally Delaware, Ohio, but right now Buffalo, New York.
All right, Ohio. Okay.
I
Okay.
used to live on Englewood Avenue. Are you near there? Stephanie?
Englewood, Delaware?
No, Englewood Avenue in Buffalo by University of
Oh,
Buffalo.
I've probably been lost there.
Okay. Yeah, I live in New York City now, but I used to live there.
Oh, nice. Cool.
I love Buffalo. I want to come back.
Nicest people. I really would say that they're nice folks up here.
Who else would like to share?
We got Amber right now. I think I
Okay.
see the.
Yes. I really liked your analogy to the to jumping into the swimming pool. You know, because a lot of times even the smallest steps can feel a little intimidating. But I have found that when faced with a large task, if I can break it into the smaller steps, I tend to be a little less intimidated and more proactive. Brian B has kind of been teaching me this over the last couple of weeks. So, and it kind of hit me with our last meeting that we had. You know, Brian says, okay, what next step do we need to work on here? So, yeah. And yeah, it does. It feels good to have something accomplished. You know, beforehand you're like, oh, do I really have to get this going? No, I don't want to do it now. But then you get that first step down and it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can get to the next step now. And steps build up after time. And so you can start measuring progress. I mean, some days it's going to be a cha-cha, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but you know, it's all in the dance, man.
I like the cha-cha. That's great. Yes. Yes.
Well, to me, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm diabetic, but for me, it feels like, you know, like eating your best ice cream sundae that you can have with some fudge and everything. Oh, man. Yeah, it feels good. It feels real good. Even the smallest things.
Awesome.
Yeah, my name is Alejandro. I work in the PROS program in the Bronx, New York.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, Alejandro. I saw Ariel, and then I saw Bobby after that. So let's go with Ariel, then Bobby.
Yeah, well, I took the first step. I guess I'll do technology because, you know, I used to join Rita's virtual support groups for the past 2 years. I mean, I had a computer. I didn't know how to enroll in Zoom. So I always called in on the group and I was always on the phone. So I had a worker that comes to my house. She helped me download Zoom on my computer. So I got into the meeting and I couldn't put myself on video. And I don't learn by people explaining things to me. I learn visual because I have a developmental disability. So me and Rita did the first step when my worker came to my house. She asked, do I have a video? So the worker who came to my house, I had the camera, but I didn't have it on. So I learned how to do Zoom little by little. Now I'm learning how to, when I'm facilitating, I learned how to let other participants share their screen. I learned how to control my video, learn how to chat. I didn't know all that. Now I also, besides me facilitating, I put in the chat every Wednesday night under meetup.com. Westchester Independent Living Center helps people set up their own meetup.com. So I have somebody who works with them, and my group it's called Talent Express White Plains. It's about, and Rita's been there, Miriam from NYAPRS has been there. It's about expressing yourself through talent, music, dancing, reading, poetry, just like this. Come every Wednesday night, 6 p.m.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Thank you. Awesome.
What's it called again? What is it called?
It's called Talent Express. Then it will say White Plains on it, next to it.
Okay. Thank you.
You type in meetup.com, and every Wednesday you have to register if you come every Wednesday.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a poet, so I like that.
Thank you, Ariel. I think Bobby had his hand up. Chris, yeah.
Well, I'm Bobby Marsh Jr. I'm one of the admins, and I'm epileptic, like everybody, the ones that work with me know. I have a service dog, so one of my short little steps that I have to do every day is try to learn to curb my temper a little bit when it comes to people petting my service dog, because I kind of get a little bit defensive about it. I need a little bit of work on that, and I have been working on it, and it's been getting better. Other than that, everything is going good for me, and I hope you learn everything you can.
Thanks, Bobby. Chris, Mike, you want to repeat that process question again?
Sure. So the question was, how does it feel to take a step forward, even if small? And it looks like we have a hand up with Sue, followed by Heather.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sue, and I live up in the Albany area. I used to work for NYAPRS back in the 90s. So I remember when Harvey had really dark hair and it was long. So lately, one of my challenges has been that I'm in recovery for alcohol. And because the meetings, a lot of the meetings are closed down, and I won't go to indoor meetings, I've had to try to find another way to connect with people through Zoom. And, you know, I feel very disconnected. I work for an independent living center, but, you know, I feel disconnected from my peers in AA, but also my peers here, because I also deal with post-traumatic stress, and you're all my peers as well, and I've been feeling very disconnected. So I've had to keep going forward, if it's going to the meetings online, going to work. But I'm so grateful I'm here, because I'm amongst people that really get it. The mental health stuff. Sometimes there's a lot of stigma. I work in an independent living center, and I've dealt with stigma amongst the administration. And it's just so good to be with you guys, you know. So I just want to thank you, and I'm so glad the conference is going on. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Sue.
Thanks so much, Sue.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, about a year ago, August, I got a call in July from my blood work, and my doctor said he had never seen numbers like that, just off the roof, with my triglycerides and, you know, and anything that could be wrong as far as fats and cholesterol and, you know, HD and everything. And so I had a stroke, and you know, and part of the stroke was my doctor would hide depot shots in my injection, and I smoke cigarettes. And so the numbers, plus the cigarettes, plus the depot, plus some stress I was going through, all led to a major stroke. And somehow I recovered completely. And after that, I just started taking small steps with my eating. I got on a medication that will help my cholesterol and my diabetes, type 2, everything. And then when the COVID, and I started losing weight, I started losing a lot of weight. And my husband and I would go walking in the city for like hours, and just exercise together. And then when the COVID happened, I was stuck indoors, and I'm like, okay, you can go back to potato chips on the couch, or you can do something about your problem. So I started exercising, sometimes up to, I worked from 45 minutes a day to an hour to hour and a half to 2 hours over the last 6 months. And then we had a setback with our child, and it was hard for me just to even stand up. And so I stopped doing what I needed to do in order to take care of me. And it hurts so bad with my son. And so the best thing I did last night, after a week of just stopping, I just said, okay, I'm just going to warm up. Okay, I'm just going to do the stretch. And I did it. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And I exercised for an hour. And that was a really big step for me, because I could have just kept going down that road of, oh, this is horrible. And so I am also a writer. I write poetry, and I write a lot about everything that's going on. And sometimes it's just getting a title on my phone, and that's the first step to a poem. And I've been writing, I have 186 poems on my phone. Wow. And about 500 in my house, enough for a book. And I have an editor, so I'm hoping to have a book. But the most important thing to me right now is my son's twins. And I'm pregnant again too. And the doctors are trying to hurt my baby they were trying to hurt me by giving me the depot shot while I was pregnant, and they knew I was pregnant, and they were giving me the abortion pill in my medicine. And I knew I was pregnant, and I knew what they were doing. And maybe they think I'm too old to have a baby, or maybe they just think I can't take care of babies. But my husband and I want children, and we have children, and so I did another thing, which was a small step. I looked into my insurance. I'm with Empire Insurance now, I think, or Emblem Health, and I'm a VIP because I have Medicare and Medicaid. And I looked up a psychoanalyst, and they had some that take Medicaid. So I have a new psychoanalyst who's helping me a lot. She feels like the mother I never had, because my mother was extremely abusive to me. Not my real mother, but my sister who adopted me. And she just lets me babble, about all my ideas about myself and where I come from and who my mom was and who my dad was, because I was adopted, and to my sister, and they were both, him and her husband and her, were abusive to me in every way that's possible, and even that way. And so my first step, last night, was to exercise, and then afterwards to write an uplifting poem, because I took Harvey's advice. I had written in the open circle, I had written some really difficult things, and difficult for people to hear too. And he said, let's try for the rest of the night to just get past that, just not focus on that, and so it helped me just to listen and to stop talking about what my life was like, because some people have had the same, and they get through it. So I wrote a poem about yoke easy, burden light, and I just went off, and it was the most positive poem I've ever written, and I read it when I need to be lifted up. So there's two aspects of taking small steps for me. One is physically, and one is mentally and emotionally and spiritually with my writing. And I know everything's gonna be okay with my sons. I know they're coming home. I know. So
Thank you, Heather. Would you mind sharing some of your poetry at some point?
yeah, I will.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I know for myself, I'm a big yoga person. Yoga is how I try to stay sane, stay just everything. And I know for myself personally, I've been going through a lot of transitions recently. With COVID, I think we all can understand that that sentiment that things are changing very quickly and we're kind of living day to day. And I know for myself that a lot of my plans were derailed pretty heavily. And I know I saw that my yoga dwindled, and there was days I would start, it was one day I'd miss it. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll be okay. Then maybe 2 days I would miss it. And I realized that, I was at 2 hours a day and it was great. I was feeling awesome. And then after a couple of days of missing it, I started to feel a lot of anxiety as towards like, I know I need to do this, but I just don't think I can. And I remember telling myself, I'm like, all right, just wake up and do warm-ups and sun salutations and warm-ups and sun salutations. And literally that takes 15 minutes, it's 15 minutes. And it's just, that's all I could do. And I found that even doing those 15 minutes, maybe it didn't make my entire day perfect, but man, what a win to just start off with that and just like feeling how that could sort of just tear away at that anxiety. Like maybe the anxiety's still there, but just slowly peeling away at it. So yeah, so that was so I definitely, those small steps are really important.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I see Brian B with a stick.
Yeah.
Mr. Brian B.
Hi, this is Brian B. in Colorado. I agree with what you shared about the 15 minutes. I'm also in recovery, and one of the things I've learned is that perfectionism, I can't just do average, I've got to be the great, has actually not had me live so great. And just this morning, I got up later than I thought I wanted to engage the day, but I needed the sleep. And perfectionism and trying to be great would have told me, don't go for a walk for 15 minutes, Brian. Go when you've got an hour, and don't go for a walk, go for a run. But you know what? I had 15, 20 minutes and I went for a walk, and I went barefoot because that helps ground me, literally. And then telling myself that it was okay to go for a walk, I'm like, well, okay, then it's okay to take my shirt off because I want a little bit of sun. I'm going to be inside for the rest of the day. And then I was like, well, okay, I'm passing a bench. I'm going to do a couple of push-ups here at this bench. And so just doing that small thing, it's okay to go for 15 minutes, gradually led me here to you today, to the Story Circle. So thanks for letting me share. Brian B. in Colorado.
Oh, bad. Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think with that, I think we can move on to our second progress question. And oftentimes, I think, we kind of heard it echoed through a lot of what people were sharing. Lots of times there are, what stops us from making this forward progress, there's some small blockage or some small roadblock that we need to get past to be able to step forward. And so the second question, it's a big one, but it's something I think we can tackle. It's, is there an area in your life where you need to forgive yourself, or an area that needs to be, let's say, cultivated so you can bring that small change in? So where do you need to forgive yourself? And I see Amber right off the bat, so we'll pass it right over to Amber.
Okay, well, I have found that a lot of times, if I'm going to progress forward, I've got to acknowledge what's going on with myself. I can't just push it aside and say, oh no, that, you know, ignore the elephant in the room and just get done with what you got to do. Well, sometimes the elephant gets a little bit too big, and if you don't acknowledge it, you know, you say, okay, yes, okay, yeah, I am tired today. Okay, maybe I need to go take a nap. Well, yeah, I'm supposed to be working right now, but you know what? I may not get any work done if I don't take this nap because I am like exhausted. And so, you know, you got to be forgiving of yourself, forgiving of the self that, that didn't know a lot of times when you know, your inner child, that especially, you know, if with me, I'm on the autism spectrum, and I had to learn the hard way how to mask, because if I didn't, I got the crap beat out of me. And basically, part of my healing is to go back and to tell my inner child, say, you know, I'm really sorry that I decided not to acknowledge your needs. You know, I tried to put survival above that. And yeah, so we do have some different needs than neurotypical folks. But if I acknowledge that and say, okay, yeah, I'm having a little bit of sensory overwhelm right now. Can we work on doing this? You know, can we work via email right now or chat, because my ears are a little overwhelmed? Or can we work from a phone conversation or a video conversation because my eyes and brain aren't connecting very well? And so, yeah, in order to move forward, you have to be able to say, yeah, there are parts of me that I have to forgive.
Thank you, Amber.
Yeah, I gotta forgive myself because sometimes, you know, you're too hard on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta forgive myself for that because I know I'm a human being and I'm not perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I saw a hand from Bobby and then from Heather, then Kim, I think. Yep. So Bobby, go ahead.
Well, like Susan and Brian, I have an addiction. I'm not in recovery yet, but I have an addiction, and it's to a drug. I'm not going to say it because it is a federal offense. But way I recuperate with mine is I have that beautiful dog that just came in and gave me the kiss on the camera. That is my service dog, Ariel. She cuddles with me when I need cuddling and when I get depressed and have my PTSD moments and cravings. I cuddle up next to her, and it helps me out as much as I can through the COVID and everything else has been tight, but it's been cuddling up next to her has been helping as much as a lot of it. So that's my big step in taking care of myself, is cuddling up next to Air Bear.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bobby. I think we had Heather and then Kim. Did I see a hand from you as well? Do you want to? And we'll come to you after Heather if you had a hand up there. So go ahead, Heather.
Back in 2005, I was working in Buffalo at Mental Health Peer Connection, and you know, like I was 35, and all my memories came back at me of the abuse, just flooded me so violently that I couldn't even get out of bed, you know. So I lost my job and went on disability, and but the hardest thing about that was when I remembered everything, that one day I stayed up till 3 in the morning calling relatives all over, friends all over, telling them what I knew about my parents. And none of them believed me, except for my brother who was adopted out too. And I guess that wasn't the smartest thing to do. You know, I mean, now I have no family, not even on my dad's side that my adopted, you know, his family doesn't want to be with me because Pam was such an integral part of them growing up as well, you know. And after I reached out to them, they started reaching out to them twice as fast, twice as long, just to gain their confidence that none of this happened. And when I try and talk about it with people, anyone, my husband, anyone, the only person I can talk about it with is my therapist, to be totally honest. You know, I mean, like when I talk about it in groups, I'm told, you know, that bothers people, you know, and I don't go into details. I mean, they rate me. So, I mean, you know, I mean, I have to forgive myself. I don't have to forgive myself for anything but reaching out to family and trying to get some support. And maybe I did it the wrong way, but you know, I should have waited till they die or something, you know. But they my mom, my adopted mom wrote me an email and said, "I'm sorry that we have to cut you out of the family." Yet she still talks to me, and she still sends me clothes, and she still sends me this, and she, you know, it's like we have this relationship where we can't let go, you know. But I need to let go of my family and forgive myself. That's what I need to forgive myself of. Is like in the Bible, oh my God, it says honor your parents. You know, what if your parents didn't honor you, you know? So basically all I have to forgive myself of is talking too much to family and not keeping it in therapy and possibly making the wrong decision and thus not having any family, you know?
Thanks, Heather.
I think I'll go, Bob, Chris.
Yep, sorry.
Yes, you learn about forgiveness as you grow up, you know, formative years, but in my adult life, I really exploring forgiveness really allowed me to understand that it was about liberating myself, you know, and freeing myself up. And I was talking to a colleague today. We were talking about, you know, how you feel those stresses in your body, those areas when you're impacted, you know, through trauma, that you feel it in your body. And so my experience has been when I forgive myself, I can release some of that visceral feeling. It's an area that just says, you know, kind of exhales and let's go. And have the courage to know that I can't make stuff happen. I have to let stuff happen. And I have to remind myself of that. And so what I do when I really want to make stuff happen, I just go into prayer. I said, you know, I'll just give it to the Creator, and I'll be as responsible as I can. And that allows me to kind of breathe and release any tensions in my body. I just give it up. And just give it up, and I can feel it releasing in my body and my mind. So, but I have to be mindful, because I'll try to make it all right. I'll do whatever I possibly can if I could just make it all right, you know, and then I have to just, you know, embrace the fact that that's not going to happen right now, and it's okay. And it ain't all about you, but it's all about you taking care of yourself. So I have to be mindful of that. And so that's kind of the dance of forgiveness and embracing, that I have to do some self-reflecting to support my own personal self-care. I love Story Circle. I can just think and talk out loud.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steph.
Yes.
I think we had Kim and then Fal, F-A, Falguni.
And Diana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kim, Fal, then Diana.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get my hand up to say anything.
All right. Sorry about that. My bad.
Sorry.
So we'll go with Fal, then we'll do Diana, and then I think I saw Alejandro too. So.
Okay.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I guess the question is there an area in your life where you need to forgive yourself? So it's not to babble, but I feel like I need to forgive myself for choosing to be like the people that inflicted the hurt on me. Since I did not know, since I was so young, I did not know how to deal with what was given to me. I decided to take that same step. And I think it went with me as I grew up, and I didn't see the pain of it and the discord that it was making in my life. So I feel I need to learn to forgive myself first before even thinking about the criticism from others. And so that the shame and the guilt can shed off, because along with the self-criticism and on top of that, the outside world adding to that criticism, which just doubles or makes 3 times the shame and the guilt you go through, it just makes it harder for you to come out of. So I feel like, you know, we can't be upset at ourselves that we didn't learn the right things when we needed to. Not everybody has, you know, both parents or siblings or the right tools from those individuals or the right people in our lives. And I have to accept that, you know, that these things weren't shown to me, or that, you know, I didn't learn this at a young age. And it just went on for some time. So it's hard because it's like the only thing I know how to do is to criticize my own self. And if I forgive myself, I can help myself make that bridge back to the person that I really am, which I recall being a very kind and compassionate person. Not that I'm not, but I think because I'm not healing from my own pain, it's like a struggle between the two. So that's what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
There might be some other voices that we haven't heard, and if we can't see you, just speak right up. We're trying to see everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes we might not see you.
Yeah,
So
we
speak
got
right up. Yeah.
2
Say-
pages. So if you, we're not trying to ignore anyone perfectly. Or purposely, we're just trying to keep up. So, we'll pass it over to Diana. Diana.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. One of the things that I think of when you mentioned that question is, how do I forgive myself for what I did when I was sick, so that I can move forward? I didn't take very good care of myself when I was sick, and I isolated and didn't tell anyone, and I got sicker and sicker, and didn't take care of myself physically, which got me even sicker. And as I move forward, I need to take baby steps to rectify those things, which can be expensive, you know, like dental work and things like that. So I have to forgive myself to be able to move forward and take care of myself better in those areas, and especially around your teeth. I mean, especially because it's really expensive. So I have to, forgive myself. I mean, I did it to myself, but it's, you that was then, and this is now. And as I move forward, I could take better care of myself, and that includes paying for the dentist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think we had Alejandro next.
Yeah, sometimes we neglect ourselves. I did a lot of things. I was the black sheep of the family. Like, Heather says, we all burn our bridges and we do things we're not supposed to do. But, forgiving yourself and forgiving others, I was very bitter. I was a very bitter person. And, thank goodness, I found, mental health, and, I got the help, and I helped myself out. Now my family wants to be with me, but now I got so used to staying away from them that I see them, I love them, but I stay away from them because, they don't understand what is mental illness, especially in the Mexican culture. They don't understand what that is. So, I stay away. They don't know nothing about my diagnosis. They don't know nothing about me. But, you got to help yourself, and then your family's going to turn around. They're going to be with you because they know that you change your life and that you're doing things better. You're helping people. But it's a really sad story when you don't forgive yourself and you don't forgive others.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Alejandro.
I think we have Ariel, then Marianne.
Yeah, I have to forgive myself. My roughest years was from 2000 when I was 40 to through 2005, which I empowered my life. And I wrote a children's book about it too, between those years. But how it started was when I was younger, at 10 years old, I was diagnosed mild mental retardation. At 10 years old, a doctor told me that. So I was living with my family, my parents, and they're very supportive, don't get me wrong. My parents are writers. My father was a teacher, my two brothers. I went to school, high school. But the part of me growing up, they didn't teach me anything about socialization, where to hang out and meet people. They didn't educate me on alcohol, what to do, what type of activities. So when I moved out of the house, like around, I would say 19. I lived at the Y. I used to drink a lot. I used to go to bars. I was a teacher's aide. In 2000, this bar that I went to all the time, this guy was very cute. I liked him. I had a good conversation with him. He said, "Oh, I'm homeless, but I do, I want a place to stay because I want to get back into working." So, and he said, "Do you know anything about drugs?" I didn't know anything about drugs. This guy lived with me. He got a job. I was doing drugs for 2 years. I had to kick him out. I lost my job in 2002. My parents put me into a hospital right away the day that I lost my job. I couldn't express myself. So when I came out of that hospital in 2002, 2003, I went back to that same guy because that hospital never taught me. So when I came out, my parents got me involved with a social worker, and I had a case manager. So in 2005, when I This guy came back, the drug addict. He wasn't living with me. He said in a sentence, could I stay here for 1 week while I work out a situation with this girl so I could get married? Because when this guy was living with me, I fell in love with him. I wanted to get married. So I said, so I told my case manager. She kept something confidential while me and my family went on a cruise. When I came back from that Alaska trip, my parents came back. I couldn't handle, oh yeah, when I came back to my apartment, the guy left. So then I went up to Peekskill, where my parents lived, and I stayed there. I thought that might help me. So I started seeing things and hearing things. So I remember what my case manager said. Call up the crisis team if you need the hospital. So I told my parents in 2005, I need the hospital. So I went to the medical center in Valhalla, and that's when I started empowering my life after I came out. I met a peer advocate who was on the psychiatric ward, and I kept going to the groups. Then when I came out of the hospital, I was at the theater, I was involved with a theater group. I saw that particular advocate, and I said, do me a favor, tell me where you took the training from. So he said, the Empowerment Center in Mount Vernon. It closed down right now, but. So I took the training in 2009, but when I came out, before I took the training for 4 years, I went to the Sterling Club, Sterling Community Center, and I first wanted to work on getting a group of positive friends in my life before becoming a peer advocate. So that's how I empowered my life. And I forgive my years from 2000 to 2005.
Wow, Ariel,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Appreciate your sharing. Absolutely.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
I know we've had a couple other people to join us. Welcome to the Story Circle.
That's
Welcome.
a wonderful testimony. I just want to tell her that's a wonderful testimony.
Yes, Asheo. And
Also have a support group tonight at 9 o'clock tonight. So I'm gonna have to prepare myself for that. I do support groups. Have a good night, you guys.
thank you, Ariel. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Ariel.
Appreciate you
Bye-bye.
sharing. Yes, Teresa Hall has joined our Story Circle.
Hello, everyone. How are you
Foundation-
all?
Teresa Hall is a champion in NYAPRS, a leader and with the Cultural Competency Committee and the NYAPRS, and very supportive of the Story Circles in NYAPRS. We're glad to have you. Would you like to share anything, Teresa?
First and foremost, it's an honor to be here and able to be among the beautiful people. And, we had, I was on earlier with the conference in other areas. And I think, virtual or not, this is the most remarkable conference we've had thus far that I've had the pleasure of experiencing. I was a little more behind the scenes this year and involved in the planning stages. And let me tell you, we do so much just to make sure everyone present knows, the value of not only themselves, but our mission as an organization and as just a bunch of plain old passionate people, I heard Ariel speaking on self-forgiveness. I don't think I would be anything I see in myself or that I am today had it not been for organization and the pivotal people such as ourselves who have done the work, that are willing to continue to do the work, and are extremely passionate about the work of making sure we are, counting considered and recognized. So thank you to everyone here for your presence. Thank you, Dr. Wilcox. You are my heartbeat. You know that.
You're my heartbeat.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Appreciate everyone on this call. I see Jacqueline Mcrae on the call, and Asia.
Wow.
Jacqueline and Asia Bennett, and there's some other folks that have joined us. Welcome.
Hold on. Is that Mrs. McCrae?
No, that's Jacqueline Mcrae from Cincinnati, Ohio. Jacqueline?
Okay. All right. Great. Wonderful. Welcome.
Hey, Deborah, Marianne was in the queue. If we could
Okay.
let Marianne share, and then
Sure.
maybe we can bring in more of these others as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Actually, considering the way the timing is right now, and in order to keep this agenda moving, I'm happy to make the share super, super short. I just want to say, and just this is kind of laying on my heart, forgiveness gives us grace to create safe space, a place in our heart to open up and let the art of healing and well-being and thriving begin. It's the only place where, as you do your work, you can feel better for every moment that you're doing your work, that you're not shirking your responsibility to create wellness for yourself. It's the place where all your hurts are put on a shelf, where healing begins, and the world becomes a much braver, safe space.
Thank you, Marianne. And we're
Claps and snaps.
Claps and snaps. Just know that we're going to 7:45 before we break and move into part 2, so we have time.
Perfect.
All right. So it looks like Brian B has the stick.
Hey, I just wanted to invite the voice of some who have contributed in the chat. Jonathan would like to share, but is having some technical things going on there. And then Chris, you asked early on when we got here, how does it feel to make a small step? And one answer I saw was from Asia Owens, who said, refreshing. Pass.
Nice. That is very true. Well, Jonathan, are you able to get the audio working? Can you hear us now?
Yeah, there he is, visually.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you and we
Yep,
can
we
see
hear
We
you.
can see you and hear you. Yeah.
I've never actually done this. I'm not on video.
Well, yeah, the floor is yours. You have the stick.
The question they were asking is really, it's stirring some emotions because I've had a really, really rough past 2 years. I've gone through a breakup. I lost a pet about 4 months ago. I lost my job I had for 13 years almost a year ago. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep affording my medicine. Plus, my physical disability is getting worse. And I've been blaming myself for a lot of this. I could have done something differently, but I don't know if I really could have. It's something I got to forgive myself for, I think, because it's tearing me apart. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere, but down right now. And I'm too young for this. I'm not even 35 yet. I'm being told that my disability could eventually put me in a wheelchair. And there's no way to stop it. And if I hadn't injured myself at 20, I wouldn't be in this position. So yeah, I blame myself for that, definitely. I don't really know what else to say.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks for sharing, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any other hands up here?
Mine.
Mine? Who's that, Teresa? Alrighty.
Wow. Jonathan, I thank you for coming into the conference, first of all. And I believe you were also in our Diversity Bash and Fashion Show earlier.
Yeah.
What I love most about our environment, I'm going to call it. I want to thank you for sharing, because only in this place can I come in a door thinking I am going through so much and I have so much to say and I have so much to share, and woe is me. But then someone like you will share, and it stops me dead in my tracks. And I want to get on my knees and do like this to you, like I feel like I'm in front of a swami or a vision or a hologram, or to hear your woes, if you will. Like, they instantly minimize mine. And I know the phenomenal you that's still standing somewhere inside of you. And I look at you with those big eyes and your shirt's hanging so neatly behind you. And all I can say is, wow. I am so empowered to live another day, do another thing, listen a little longer. And that is the purpose you brought to me today. So I just want to say thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to. I don't usually, I'm not very good socially often, and sometimes it takes some warming up to get to that.
Well, you just were good socially. You just were more powerful than I think you will ever realize.
Yeah.
Some doors have to close, as proverbial and cliche and stupid as it sounds in this moment, so that the greater doors can open. And you just opened a greater door, whether you realize it or not.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Teresa. We are together.
Yeah.
We got each other. We're not alone in our work. We have community. Yes, Alejandro?
Yes, one thing I want to say to Jonathan, you're very young. Whatever the doctor says, you put it on yourself, just work it hard. I got gunned down in 2007. They told me I was never going to walk again. My kids left, my wife left, she took the dog. I ended up in a shelter. I had nothing. Absolutely nothing. Never give up, man. Never give up.
Never.
Thank you.
I see Amber holding up the candlestick.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, we have Michael Bowen, who has written, I need to forgive myself for walking out on my brother and sister over 20 years ago.
Thanks for
Any,
sharing.
do you want to write a little bit to say what happened with your brother and sister, or would you like to speak with us? I had some issues with my sisters, so I kind of understand that one.
Me too.
Me three.
Alone.
I know Diana.
Me four, and I'm Amber's husband.
Diana has a stick.
one of the things that I had to forgive myself for was at 18, when I went to school, to college, I left behind my baby brother. He was my baby. I took care of him. I did everything for him, but I had to get out of my house. My house was so crazy that I wanted to escape, but I wanted to take him with me. And my mother said no. And so, I mean, I had the apartment already, I had the job, I had everything ready for him. And my mother said no. My mother didn't want me to go to college. So I had to let go of the most valuable person in my life. And to this day, I think he resents that. But, you know, it's not my fault. I was 18. I tried to take him with me. I couldn't. I had to leave. I could not stay. And so I have to forgive myself for that. I don't think I have yet.
Thank you. Well, it seems like we're moving real close to closure here, Chris. And
can I just say something to Diana real quick?
Please, yes.
I can relate to your brother being your son because my daughter is also my sister. You know what I mean? And that kind of perpetuates in houses like mine, you know?
Heather, it seems like you're making something. We'd like to share. What are you making?
It's sage. I'm Native American. My mom was 100% Native Sioux Indian. And I discovered sage in a healing circle. So I'm just kind of, you know, because like there's a lot of negative things that we're talking about, but talking about them positively. But it just takes care of any negativity or unfinished business if you have the smoke, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you're doing some smudging.
Yeah, I have a feather that I do it, but right now I'm just sort of burning it.
Well, we'll take those vibes into the circle.
Okay, that's what it's meant for.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And so as we move for closure, we'd like to have some art and then some closing statements. And what we'd like to do, a poem, or anyone like to share?
I have a poem called I Am My Own.
Please.
Would you like to hear it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, hold on, I just have to get to it real quick, okay?
Okay.
Here it is, right here. I just have to search. Okay, here it is, right here. I am my own. I'm not a number on somebody's caseload. I do not belong to a worker. I am my own, only to be owned by myself. I am allowed to call treatment good or bad. I'm allowed to like, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I am allowed to like you or not. I am my own. I have my own opinions. And if I want to wear my coat inside, I am allowed. I am allowed to cross my arms if it makes me comfortable. I am allowed to speak when I want or to shut down completely and take my own sweet time for you to gain my trust. I don't need someone to tell me how to advocate for myself or to tell me self-advocacy means sticking up for myself, especially when I have a strong opinion and I am considered to be quote unquote non-compliant by expression of my needs or thoughts and feelings, or manipulative when I am trying to get what I need. I remember a woman saying, "They're like my kids." Well, last time I looked around, we were all adults with rights in the Constitution that are not upheld by people we tell we want to give up. Giving up was a turning point in my own journey because I could only move forward. I could only rise as a woman of color, a woman survivor, a sensitive, traumatized human being. So as you patronize me as I draw my obstacles, or you don't agree with what is in my wellness toolbox, keep your opinion to yourself, or I'll turn around and label you. You'll see what it feels like being in a fishbowl, being in a zoo as everyone walks by to look at you. like the retard black and white horse too used for anything good, the old gray mare turning from black and white to blue. Gray days are good days, even if it's raining. My cat is gray. My cat lives indoors. My cat needs therapy too. She's meek and mild and always kind. We help each other out. She blinks and I blink. She yawns and so do I. Just her presence is soothing. And she's allowed to say I'm hers and feel as though she owns me because she comes from a place of humility, not power, and of sacrificial love. People who are paid to talk to you will never be transparent and will always have an agenda to seek out pathologies. A facial expression, a happy or sad mood, a suicide lurking in your closet and when it will resurface again. Looking for reasons for more meds or a medication adjustment, never really listening attentively. I color my hair, I do my nails, I wear beautiful clothes, I have beautiful blue eyes. I am a woman of color underneath the fair facade. My mother, 100% Native American, was a dark color and struggled, a survivor just like me. I was taken at birth and given to a sister. I was a product of rape, causing mother to drink. Born early, but born at least. And now knowing what it means to be reborn time and time again. Never fearing death behind the window, never asking why me, never saying no to shock and MTV. Lobotomies over lifetimes, leaving a live vegetable in her cell. That's what happens when you have more than one black and white day. So stick to gray, even though it is painful.
Ah, thank
You
you.
like
Yes, Heather.
All the snaps.
Yeah, you got
Wow.
lots of energy coming in. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's an awesome way to move to a closure. And as we move to a closure, let's, who would like to share a plus about the session this evening or a wish? And for those who have to go on to another workshop, we understand that and we appreciate your attendance. But we're going to stay in for another hour to talk about implementing story circles and building peer support and what it takes to have a sustained wellness and recovery story circle community. But you know, the floor.
Can I take a 5-minute break?
Yeah,
Can we?
yeah, for sure.
And
Feel free to do that. But what we want to do at this point is allow any of us that want to speak up and talk about what was a plus about our session this evening and a wish.
I just wanted to add, Deborah, that we are also, the purpose of the second workshop is how to take it back to your agency.
Yes, absolutely. How to take it back to your community, your agency. That's what
Right.
that's
Community.
what we're going to be talking about for sure.
I'm here as the counselor with Access VR. And what I would like to add is that I would like to, I wish for employers to be more accepting and accommodating for individuals who have needs that can be provided and assist them with maintaining their job. That's what I wish for.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Yes.
And I wish the same for parental rights as what she said.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Bobby?
I wish to see coming to fruition advocacy group that would focus on parents with the diagnosis that need help with visitation modification, custody, you know, because a lot of us have been trampled over in that particular arena. I would really love to thank you for sharing that, Native American woman. That needed to be said.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Speak right up. A plus and a wish. This is awesome.
This is
I think just watching everybody pour their heart out is amazing.
Thank you, Heather. Yes, I think we had Pat and then Bobby.
I can't get my picture thing to come on, but so
okay.
Hello everybody. I've been listening and I'm kind of under the weather. Well, here's a sign. Maybe I can just start my video. I see it. That must be Brian that sent it. Well, it doesn't work. Oh, here.
There you go.
Oh, hello, beautiful.
Here you
Yeah,
are.
hello.
I sent you an invite, so we're glad to see you.
Right, right.
Nah.
I
Snap,
remember
snap,
her.
snap
I
that.
remember
I'll
her.
snap that.
Well, oh, here I am. Okay. I'm just so taken by this. And as I listen and I think about the systems that have been in place in this country officially called mental health since really 1963 in the Mental Health Act that took everybody out of hospitals and put them on the streets. And there's such a wonderful moment each time we speak to each other, and I felt it speaking to me, is that because we're human, we're divine, there's a human part of us that always has a place to find recovery, always must find recovery. And being in this group, each time I hear it, it becomes even more clear. And I said to someone the other day that I call my friends women and girls and friends daughters of the dust. And we're always going to be in search of the perfection of recovery until we turn to stardust. And what I see is that everybody has had a story for me that helps me understand it's okay to be in a place where you feel that I'm not quite where I must be, and at the same time to be with people who are saying I'm there a lot. And that is so much better than someone sitting down and giving you a prescription for medication.
You better
And
say
we can
so.
be our own prescriptions. In that sense, the talking prescription gives us kind of heart energy to leave this space and go back to where we were, or since we're already in our own spaces. So I want to thank you for that. And my wish is that somewhere we would find in community places like my granddaughter was just, she said, we need to have these everywhere. She said, because people have these, she didn't call it acute, but we have these moments when they rush on us. And it's scary when the rush comes, and this helps. I think it helps me because I went and I laid down for a minute. So I'm saying this to you because of my age, that we're always in this moment of uncertainty because that's the human part of us. But the divine part is that we, at some point, we turn it around.
Oh, yes.
And we keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
So my wish is that more people will be able to be in the story circles, even if you're in therapy, because you've got a lot to teach the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I shall. Yeah.
I shall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just quickly want to say, as people, we get to have our emergencies, Jonathan included, and we get to break the glass. We get to break the glass and yell, fire, help, this is me right now. We get to break the glass, and have our emergency and have our moment, like Harriet was just saying.
Mm-hmm. And
it sounds like that I kicked out my car door window when I was being restrained by my stepfather.
She broke the glass.
Literally.
Others look like Amber would like to share.
Yes, I have something from Michael on the chat. Michael says it came down to letting them control us. That was his brothers and sisters. We were all grown up and had our own family, so it was no surprise that differences sprang up. We had to be at a certain place at a certain time. I did what I had to do to hold my family together. So yeah, it is hard when you have to turn your backs on your siblings, but when you have your own family, your own children and spouse to to have to take care of and love and be loved. And if your family is not accepting them, that is really hard. Is that what I'm gathering from what you have said, Michael?
He said, yep.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So, do we have other feedback on pluses and wishes before we segue into part 2? Yes, Julianne.
I'll share pluses and wishes. So pluses, I appreciate all of you just jumping into the story circle and sharing so vulnerably. I think that's what brings so much power to these story circles, is just having that place to be heard in, hard things, and having a place to be witnessed as we go through that. There's something powerful in just witnessing people in their humanity. So it's a huge plus that there were people here just willing to show up and share so vulnerably. And I guess a wish is, I wish we had more time, or we could have broken into smaller groups so that we could have given everyone more of an experiential ability to participate more. So those are my pluses and wishes.
Okay, thank you, Juliana. Okay, so we're going to close out. Amber's going to close us out with a song, and right after the song, we're going to move into part 2 and talk about story circles, our experience, and how we support other people who want to implement story circles in their organization. So Amber,
I'm going to take a break. I'm sorry.
So this song was written in the 1960s, I believe. I've kind of been in the mood for a little Bob Dylan here, so see if y'all recognize this tune. It asks a lot of questions, but we as humans need to be asking questions. Ooh, how many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? Yes, and how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it gets washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Ooh, ooh, the answer is blowing in the wind.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you.
Awesome. 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 That's a movement song. We got the move.
Yes.
Yes. That makes
and very fitting for these times.
Yes. Yep. This is the time for moving. So what we're going to do is maybe take about a 5-minute break, and then move right on into part 2. Everybody get up and get a stretch, get some water. You do whatever you need to do. Come back in 5 minutes, and we're going to move into part 2. All right.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Thank you, Chris, Amber, Juliana, as well as all the NYAPRS folks attending. We're on a 5-minute break. My name is Brian B. If you have questions about Story Circle, feel free to send me a private message or a message to all, or come off of mute. Myself and a few others that have worked in Story Circle projects are here today. And we're going to talk in part 2 about bringing Story Circle to your community, whatever group it is that you think could be doing dialogue like this in Story Circle. Thanks for being here.
So this is Teresa, and you know, it's been a pretty long day for me. You know, my workshop started early this morning, and you know, I had a couple of tasks, a fashion show, a diversity bash, and so if I bail out a little early without saying goodbye, I'll just say goodbye now, and I'll be listening. And God bless you all, and thank you all for attending.
Teresa, thank you so much for your presence, your energy, your voice, and your story.
Nice to meet you, Teresa.
It's been a real pleasure. I look forward to doing much, much more.
Right on, right on.
This is just our genesis. We're just getting started.
Deborah, Teresa was just saying goodbye. She may need to plug out early.
Nice to meet you, Teresa.
Pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. Make sure we have contact information. Also, too, let me take this opportunity to say that the NYAPRS Cultural Competence Committee does have an open recruitment right now. And we welcome all inquiries. We meet every third Thursday of the month at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Please feel free to contact NYAPRS, the organization. You can leave a message. We will be happy to get it to the right person to contact you and pull you right in.
Okay.
I may put that in the comments later on if someone can read it out. I would appreciate it.
Yes, we can do that. Thank you, Teresa. Hi, Heather. My name is Brian, and I'm in Colorado.
Hi.
Thank you for your voice and your stories today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for listening.
Amber, thank you for your voice. Dear goodness. I'm in love with Bob Dylan and folk songs again.
Thank you, Brian.
Heather, I have to tell you, there's a part of my heart that's very happy to know you and to know your story.
There we go, Marianne.
Sorry, I put my headphones down so I could take care of my puppy dog. Part of self-care means feeding the dog when he's hungry. But I wanted to let you know, Heather, that I really appreciated your story. My mother's relatives are Mohawk from
Oh, nice.
upstate, so I appreciated the story and the realness.
Thank you. I appreciate your forgiveness. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that was just sort of, okay, open up the heart and let stuff just flow out of it.
Yeah.
type of thing.
I actually took Harvey's advice and tried to write a positive poem, and all these things just kept coming out of me about, just favor and portion and positive and gates swinging open and windows being open, doors. And I read that sometimes when I'm about to write, and try and get into, because I've been writing about the pain for the last 10 years, and I want to write about the recovery and what I'm getting back from a lifetime of hell.
Maybe you want to think at some point about the privilege of pleasure.
Mm-hmm. I think it was the perfect balance of both, and share the pain and the recovery, like you said. And I love the fact that we touched on forgiveness tonight, because for me, forgiveness means I made it. It didn't kill me.
Yeah.
I made it. It didn't kill me. If I got it, if there's a next step called forgiveness, that means it didn't kill me.
Yeah.
Amber, I have to tell you, while you were singing that song, an email came across my screen just as you were finishing it that was all about, if you think the world isn't right, here's a place to write your resolutions. Forgive me, Bob Dylan. And I just cracked up laughing.
Oh, wow.
It's all about writing resolutions for the convention that I'm helping to host in a few weeks. I thought it was a perfect moment.
Awesome, man. I love synchronicities. It's just awesome.
Good time.
Everybody be sure to share, what you're busy with and what you got coming up in the comments, right, Brian? We just like you guys are supporting this story circle. We want to, support and show up where you are as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One
So if
thing
you
I
got
do want to note, just Heather, I wanted to make sure that you saw Sandy had requested a copy of your poem, and she dropped her email there in the chat. So I just wanted to be sure that you saw that.
Here, do you have the email so I can?
Yeah.
Hold on, I have a pencil right here. Okay. You can just put it on the screen if you want.
Put it in the chat.
It's in the chat if you wanna.
Okay,
if you
I'll
know
get
how
it.
to
I'll
look
get
at
it.
that. Yeah, she dropped it in the chat. It's Sandy Brower.
How do I get to the chat? Share content?
If you look at the bottom of your screen, sometimes there's 3 dots that say more. You can click
okay, there you go.
and then scroll up to that, and it'll pull it up for you.
And make sure you click on everyone. There's a little arrow.
Hi, Deborah.
Okay, let's ready to move forward. We're going to go ahead and get started with part 2. Juliana, would you like to pull up the PowerPoint?
Yeah, give me just a moment. I'll get that up here for you.
Okay. We're going to move into just some basic kinds of things around, implementing story circles within your organization. But what we want to do is, as we move into this conversation, is to talk about our own experiences. We've been together, P3 team, story circle, peer support. We've been together almost 2 years now. And so we are just really learning from our own learning. We stay in practice, we stay in learning, we debrief, we share. And so what I like to do before we get into something really formal, Brian, if you would take some time and just talk about the arts and resilience and what we've just experienced in the story circle, and how that's so a core of the story circle process is infusing the arts to support well-being and resilience. And then we're going to do this, and then we'll have an open discussion as well. So you got it, Brian.
Sure, sure. So, hi, folks. My name is Brian Bernard Bourne, and as I claimed my voice as an artist and advocate, the name B, the first two letters of my last name, came to me, or I came to it. One personal story that I'll share is that every time I dance, nearly every time I dance, I become a better version of myself. And the arts are not something separate that I'll get to one day, maybe, if I can. The arts are something that I had to choose, or I chose to stop rejecting that I am an artist. When I embraced that I'm an artist, it was a creative journey that helped me realize, you know what? There are artists all around me. Some of them may or may not be saying that they are an artist. They may or may not be owning that label. And then, of course, a lot of folks in recovery, when they do their recovery work, it is often encouraged, whether it's the AA Big Book or whatever other kind of recovery you're doing, to write, to sing your song, to share your story. So we welcome, as part of the wellness and community format in Story Circle, we welcome our art. Not only do we welcome it, like we come just short of requiring it, like, because it's a core part of literally being.
Thanks, Brian. You can go ahead and move the next slide, Juliana. And so I want to hold this here because it has a lot of significance as in terms of the core of peer support and collaborative relationships with providers and building well communities. And I think Dr. Stewart, her comments toward the end of the Story Circle this evening alluded to comments around, and also Heather, the comments around the medical model in your poem brought out the, the impact of the medical model and then how we liberate from the medical model. So when you see this particular sketch that was done by a peer in the peer community, this is open to everyone that's on the that's in the Zoom right now. What do you see?
I see. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
Together. For those who don't actually see it, either because you have low or no vision or for your technology, I'm just going to describe it. We've got a black and white, a little more sophisticated than a stick figure, but not much more. And there's one larger man with a band around his head that looks like what a doctor would use. And he may have a stethoscope around his neck, and he's bent over and leaning down and pointing at another man. But that man is drawn much smaller. Literally, his whole height up comes to maybe his waist. And they are looking at each other. And the larger person is pointing with his hand right in the face.
Thanks, Brian, for sure. So speak right up. What comes to mind when you see the sketch?
I just can relate to it so much because my body is not my own as long as I've been on this shot, and I was forced to take the shot. And the doctors have been giving me the depot shot along with the medicine in the shot. And I want to be in control of my body, not just my mind, but like sometimes doctors play God and say, we're going to do eugenics on you. I mean, that's a Nazi term, and that's what they did in the Nazis. And the doctors are not being accountable to people with mental health diagnoses and who want to start a family. I'm married. Not that that should matter. I mean, even if I'm not married, I should be able to start a family if I want to,
Okay, thank you, Heather. Yes, Amber.
Yeah, to me, it shows condescension. A lot of my experience with a lot of my doctors and with Bobby's doctors was condescension, as if our own lived experience, what we were experiencing was not supposed to be what we were experiencing, but it was. And, we're more than just a textbook diagnosis. humans are far more complicated than that, and no diagnosis is the same.
That's right. And no symptoms are the same.
Yes.
So everybody has their own unique lived experiences, for sure. Other comments?
I have one.
Yes, please, speak up.
I see the big them and the little me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I see intimidation, you know.
Okay, thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
Regina?
I would say it's all the, I feel a few things. I feel like intimidation, belittling, like kind of, you know, saying, hey, listen to me type of thing. That's what I'm getting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a couple more comments, then we'll move on.
I see a power paradigm.
Okay, go ahead. You, Chris, and then who was that next? Say your name.
Diana.
Bobby.
Okay, go ahead, Chris, then Bobby.
Yeah, I see a power paradigm occurring. Like obviously one person has the power and one person is feeling powerless.
Thank you, Chris. Bobby?
To limit it on what Amber was saying with my disability for being epileptic, I see overpowerment by the doctors saying that it isn't genetic, that it is all PTSD, and it only PTSD, and it's not just epileptic seizures, it's also other seizures, but controlling and overpowering.
Okay. All right. The next slide, Julianne. You can just go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so we just experienced a story circle. For those who are still on the call, I can see some of you. So story circles are designed to collaborate with providers, agencies, researchers, peer advocates, and community stakeholders to promote systemic change within the mental health and the broader healthcare community, to improve the recovery of persons who deal with mental health and substance abuse challenges. Each member of the story circles bring their own unique cultural and family heritage, individual beliefs and values, and lived experience to share. And we just experienced that. The story circle empowers the individuals to participate in a collective learning community, as well as to work on our personal self-care and recovery goals. So the idea is that we can verbalize during the story circle. We can think out loud as we're talking. We can learn collectively from each other. And even if we don't share verbally, we still are actively participating. So at this time, what I'd like to do is just open up for the team, the P3 team, to talk about what the story circle, how the story circle has impacted your involvement and what keeps you wanting to stay involved in the story circle.
Can I say something real quick, Deborah, about the slide? I'm so sorry, everybody. But look at the first picture. It's like camaraderie, unity, you know, here I am, you ready? You know, and then you look at the second picture. It symbolizes common ground, you know, no hierarchy. And that foot that's in the air, it's like it symbolizes somebody's willingness to step in, you know, and share. And that foot, the person can be coming into a new beginning or leaving out of their old skin, you know. I love this. I took a screenshot of this.
Thank you. Next slide, Julianne. Thank you, Teresa. And Brian, I can't see you, but you know, think about the times when we were at the Charge Center. The Charge Center is a drop-in center here in Denver, Colorado. And when we were doing experiential exercises, extemporaneous, and actually body movement in this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about that, Brian?
Glad to. So Deborah and I had the privilege to co-facilitate a story circle at Charge. And as I was listening to folks go around to share their story, they were many times talking about the good old days and playing. Well, I'm an actor and I'm a dancer and I'm an improvisation performer. And oftentimes I do that with folks of all different kinds of abilities. So I have seen people over and over go, well, I'm not a dancer or I'm not a whatever, but then they start doing it. So they are the thing they said they weren't. It just took a while to explore it, to own it. So when it came around my turn, I said, I could tell you a story about my good old days and I could tell you about playing, but would anybody here rather play instead? Anybody want to play a game? I got something. People put their hand up, they were willing. So we did some activities that I call 3-4 story floor. And it means you're going to use your body and you're going to interact with some others and you're going to tell me a story. I don't know what story you're going to tell me. And you don't know exactly what story the group is going to tell, but you're going to tell your story. And then number 2 person and number 3 person comes in, they make a shape, and the 4th person walks around them and then says, and then they describe what the story is. Nobody's wrong. Like it's open, it's art, it's humaning. So it's open to just create together. And we got to do that.
So in the photos that you see in this particular slide, this is at Cameron Church, which is Amber's church, where we had our early beginnings. And we were talking about the church today, on Pearl Street. So Amber, could you talk a little bit about this particular room and some of the conversation, some of the spirit, and how it really helped us to build peer support in the early part of the wellness story circles?
Well, Cameron has always been a very artsy church, very welcoming and embracing of the arts. In fact, we have a bronze nude in the foyer, and we like to put a Santa hat on her at Christmas time. And the particular vibes that I think Cameron has is it's welcoming to music and art and poetry and science and exploring the mysteries. I think, that's mainly our catchphrase is explore the mysteries. And I think exploring the mysteries with P3 is a perfect partnership for Cameron. And I'm trying to get some more of my fellow Cameronites to come see what we do, because, frankly, it's just everybody needs a little healing. And some of us admit more than others, and so, yeah. And the picture, I'm not seeing a picture on the screen right now, but the picture that really sealed it for me was when Andre asked Brian to go up into the upper balcony and get a picture of us below, and just to see the reflections of the lights on the floor and the way that it was kind of spiraling into the circle. I thought, just really kind of gave me the chills. And yeah, and we hope that at Cameron that we exude community and that we exude welcoming, because everybody's got to have a place where they fit in. And we hope to help bring some of that.
Thank you, Amber. And so in Amber's comments is where, as you think about maybe wanting to implement story circles within your own organizations and communities, you want to think about there's places and spaces that you want to convene. That's very important, because those energies make a difference in terms of how we show up together collectively. So this particular slide just points out this egalitarian, it's about building community. It's not about power over relationships. We're shifting from the medical model of compliance, as Heather brought out in her poem, to actually building a community of wellness and well-being that we can give to one another. Each one teach one. And peer support sustains that we all have peaks and we all have valleys. We all have distresses that we work through and we recover from, and we use the arts, which is, to bring light to our lives in so many different ways. So stories are powerful ways to build community and connection. Story circles is an opportunity to bring healthcare providers and service recipients together, because the healthcare community, the providers need recovery. Peers, like Dr. Stewart just said, peers need to start to teach the providers, the so-called educated clinicians, which I am part of that, how to be in an egalitarian relationship with someone you're trying to support as opposed to power over. And we learned that in the academy. That has to be unlearned. Just come in and be well. Come in and get well. Come in and be a person. And then you can begin to open the space for the kind of healing activities that the wellness circle is already going to create the wellness, because the circle is antiquitous. It comes from early human existence. That circle creates the healing energy automatically. And we can do that at any day of the week collectively. All you have to do is get in that circle and have the intentionality that you're going to do some work personally, and you're going to listen to others and learn from others. So the talking stick is used to determine whose turn it is to share, and we try to emulate that today in the Zoom. So next slide. And I know I'm looking at time here. We're not going to be able to get through all the slides because we want to have some questions.
Oh, there it is.
Deborah,
Yes.
Deborah,
yes.
Can I just say very quickly that what I love about the stories in Wellness Circles is just as diverse as our communities are. What I've witnessed is even story circles that are themed or topic, towards a story circle for women, or a story circle for this particular issue, or trauma, or and I love, even though we can come into this place and talk about anything, those type of diverse topics can be very empowering as well.
Exactly. So Brian, say a little bit about how we construct what we call theme-centered interaction in terms of how we co-construct our story circles, coming together as co-facilitators in that process.
Sure. So each story circle that we have been funded for so far is called a P3 Wellness and Resiliency Story Circle. So regardless which day or time story circle you go to, the theme is about wellness and resiliency. Now underneath that, some people may develop a theme in the co-facilitator just around that, and then have 1 or 2 prompts to invite people to share a story, like Amber did today, like Chris did today. Other people develop a sub-theme. A theme that was developed recently is capacity is real. And then in there, we talked about we all have limitations. So are we working within them, or are we trying to blow past them? There are many themes that can be developed, and our leads and co-facilitators have gotten together to meet each other, find out what's your story, what's your energy, and then together develop what that theme is, and then show up for the story circle to support community, to hold a space to dive in together on that theme.
Exactly. So it was very important to have a focus for the story circle, but it's not rigid, because the bottom line, as I said before, when we gather in the circle, it's going to take its own shape. As many story circles that we all have been involved in, every story circle has been uniquely different. And it creates the ritual of the talking stick. It's a ritual. The talking stick, which is used by in the story circle, is an old age cultural tradition that was utilized by many native cultural groups and tribes to promote voice and democracy within villages. The talking stick is passed around the circle to ensure that everyone has equal opportunity to share his or her stories within the group. The story circle opens a space for peers and providers to share lived experiences and to hear one another differently. So the ritual itself is what creates the transformation. The ritual of the circle, the ritual of the talking stick. All of that is a spiritual way for recovery to start to transform. So it's not only in the talking, but it's also how we gather and the intentionality around how we gather. The next slide, please, Julianne, thanks. So how the story circle supports wellness and resilience, we've talked about that. And one of the things that's most important, particularly in this time, is that it brings us together across our cultural differences. No one makes any judgment about anyone's lived experience. Everybody's lived experience is their own unique life journey. All we do is hold each other in the space. And I think one of the elements on this particular slide that I think is very important, and I think we had this conversation in our team meeting the other day, is about restoring personhood. As we work through recovery, you know, we find new personhood. You know, we find dignity. You know, we find ourselves in a different way. You know, and we work through hurt. And working through the hurt helps to restore that sense of personhood, which is so very important. So I'm going to open it up right now to other people on the team. What's been your experience around this concept of personhood and how story circles support wellness and resilience? And you can go to the next slide too, Julianne. Anybody would like to share what?
I'll speak to that, Deborah.
Okay.
I think there's something powerful in just witnessing other people being human and vulnerable, and just getting to be real, like having space where we can just come in and be witnessed in whatever we're going through and witness other people. And there's just something about that that heals in a way I haven't experienced in other places. And it's really powerful to be able to just share experiences, not have to fix anything, not have to change anything, not have to be different, but just, you know, being together and humaning together. I think there's just a power in that I haven't experienced in other spaces.
Thanks, Julianne. You know, it's, you know, our traditional educational system, you know, we have a lot of top-down relationships. We have grading. We separate children into different groups. One set of children smarter than the other set of children. Some are gifted, some are not gifted. All of this division and decipher, you know, kind of is part of our cultural milieu in the United States. We do that a lot. We don't do enough coming together across our differences and getting to know who we are as people. And the story circle allows that to happen in a very authentic way, that we can show up and be our total who we are. We don't have to change who we are to be together. We just learn to be together and be vulnerable. It's not about perfection. It's just about being and working on those peaks and valleys that dance in all of our lives. No matter if you're a provider or recipient of services, peaks and valleys is dancing in your life. And this is a time for Sankofa. That term Sankofa is an Ndinka African, it's a symbol. It's a bird. They call it the Sankofa bird. And if you Google it, you'll see a bird flying forward, but also looking back with an egg in its mouth. In other words, this is a time in human existence that we're reaching back antiquitous to our ancestors and pulling forth the wisdom of the ancestors to foster the kind of healing and civility. So the story circle is a way of gathering that come from our ancestors. And Brian is showing the Ndinka symbol of the Sankofa bird. And it's just a symbol about where we are in the now, in human existence. It's about us coming together and being civil to one another. So the next slide, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So some of the key elements in the story circle is to provide an opportunity for people to gather in a welcoming and comfortable environment, sharing stories and lived experiences with peers and providers together. Story circles also teach people how collective sharing and storytelling can support recovery, increase peer support, transform lives, increase the quality of one's personal life, and build communities of wellness. I like to also say well-being, being well. Convene the story circle in a comfortable location. We talked about that. Places and spaces make a difference. Welcome everyone to the story circle in a genuine manner. And hopefully we did that this evening to eat with one another, and have people in the group introduce themselves and engage in exercises and arts to make sure the spirit starts to dance in the circle and everybody kind of gets comfortable and relaxed. And also make sure that you establish safety So, and the way to do that is to even ask everyone in the group, can we give each other safety? Can we make sure we support each other in confidentiality? Which means that whatever we talk about and share in this story circle, it stays in the story circle. Even when we take a break and go to the ladies' room, the gentleman's room, or whatever, you don't ask someone what they talked about in the story circle without asking permission. It's just confidentiality is so important because we're vulnerable and we might not want to talk about it outside of the circle. So you have to ask.
And that's ancient. That's how it was amongst tribes, you know.
That's right. That's the sense of village, democracy, village civility. So I'm going to stop right here for a moment for you all who are kind of listening to us talk about implementing story circles. And you can move the next slide, Julian. Thank you. What are you interested in? Any of you interested in implementing story circles within your organizations or community?
I'm not in an organization. I'm in PROS as treatment.
Yes.
But there's a peer there, and he said, are you ever interested in working as a peer? I used to work as a peer for 5 years and a systems advocate. But like I said, I had that breakdown. But I would be interested in starting like a volunteer group with the PROS agency of a healing circle. You know,
Okay.
a story circle.
Excellent. And so one of the things we're willing to do, the team, is to invite you to our story circles that we have online. And so you start to get familiar. And then we also support one another in developing what you call facilitation skills, how to have group leadership skills, how to facilitate a smooth story circle. And, you know, and so it's part of, it helps with empowerment. It helps with developing leadership skills, communication skills. So someone else, I can't see everyone. Can you speak up if Bobby's on the call or Amber or Marianne to talk about your facilitation experiences, how it's supporting your wellness and recovery?
Okay.
I can be happy to do that if you want for a moment.
I can do it too.
Okay, good. Go ahead. Who was first there? Was that Amber?
That was Amber.
Okay.
No, actually, I think it was Marianne.
Okay, Marianne, please. Yes.
Okay. One of the things I would say about being a facilitator, when you are planning story circles, you can, as Deborah said, go with the kind of basic themes of wellness, resilience, or you can dig into some deeper themes, and especially and Black Lives Matter and all kinds of other things going on. A couple of the themes that I came up with were to co-facilitate. One of them was about rest, and it was it was one of the most well-received circles just because we talked about what does that look like? How do you do it? How do you incorporate rest into your self-care? And we discovered that some people were really good at giving themselves that time, and some people were horrible at it, and some people said, I don't even know how to rest. So we talked about, well, how do you rest? What do you do that makes rest happen? We've discussed, and when I facilitate story circles, I usually don't create themes until pretty close in, because the themes are whatever is really working on my heart, whether it's community-based or something else. And I've discovered that if something's working on my heart as a theme, it's working on a whole bunch of other hearts as well. And so being a facilitator for a story circle means that I can work on my stuff, and a whole bunch of other people are joining me in that work. And if I need the work, somebody else needs it with me. And that creates the community of care that works in such amazing ways. And that's why I stay, because I came to this thinking, okay, this is just a really cool job with some poetry and people who support art and so on. And I have stayed for the wellness and the work. And that's what makes the magic for me.
Thank you, Marianne. What Marianne has communicated with us is that as a facilitator, you always have a partner, you have a co-facilitator, but at the same time, you are a part of the group. So I often say when we're doing sort of our trainings that we're a part of the group, but we're also a dash part of the group, because the facilitator has to kind of watch the group grow, watch the group activity, make sure everything is working in a way that's supportive of the group process. But at the same time, as a facilitator, you also working on your wellness goals as well. So I just wanted to make sure, and Marianne, your comments really spoke to that. And as well as the themes, we have a theme bank. We just have various types of themes that we come up with creatively, and facilitators construct those themes and develop process questions. But doesn't mean that you have to ask every process question. It just means you have some structure, but because the group, the collective interaction takes on its own process. And so the facilitator allows that to happen in that space. I want to flip all the way back through the slide to Mary Ann's piece on how to incorporate disability support within the story circle process. And Mary Ann's going to lead us in that. Brian?
Oh, I was just going to ask Deborah, your voice got farther away. If there's something.
Oh, okay. How about that?
There you go.
Okay. So what do I need to repeat anything, or was it that faint?
It was still good.
Are you ready to go next?
Yeah, I want Mary Ann to go ahead, and Brian, you and Mary Ann, we're embarking upon this even more within our story circles, and Mary Ann and Brian have a lot of experience in this area, and in terms of incorporating this into story circles. So you all go ahead and talk about equity and inclusion with persons with disabilities.
Gladly. Mary Ann, we've got a slide up that says how we hear what you see.
I've got it.
You know, you created it. Sorry.
It's all good, and I'm following the slideshow on my own. Though I do definitely appreciate the let me know where the visuals are. I just to give a little of background, I am totally blind. I am an actor, artist, occasional freestyle poet when God gives it to me. I'm a public speaker. I'm president of our local National Federation of the Blind chapter here in Boulder, and an advocate for the rights of blind people, and by extension, rights of people with disabilities. And frankly, it's all about education more than anything. But yes, sometimes the law needs to get involved, and then the harder advocacy comes in. But we started few months ago on understanding cultural competency, and part of culture is understanding that there are people with different disabilities that will join your story group, and you might not know, or you may know what you need to do or say or think, but you may not. And so my friend Chelsea and I were asked to come up with a presentation about understanding the culture of blindness and what it is to be a blind person who would participate in the story circle as in life. And so we've called out a couple of slides from that presentation just as really good thinking and talking points of what it means to incorporate a culture for a particular disability into story circle, or frankly into any kind of treatment, and mental health being that's where we're focused right now. And I'm glad that, like I said, all my New York peeps, one way, shape, or form, I love y'all, make me homesick and such. But Brian, if you want to add anything, go ahead. Otherwise, we'll flip over to the next one.
We're good. I'm happy to chime in when I got something.
Okay. Alrighty, let's go on to words matter and attitudes matter more.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Mary Ann, we probably need to really keep this really targeted and brief because it's quarter till.
I saw that.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna work fast.
I know you know.
I do. All right, there are words on the left that as blind people we hate, and words on the right that we like. Visually challenged. Challenge implies a competition. If I'm competing with you on seeing, I'm already losing. I'm not competing. Therefore, I am not visually challenged. I am not unsighted. I am blind. Call it what it is. I am not differently abled. I'm just blind. I'm good with that. There are some people who want to be called other kinds of things, but frankly, I don't care about PC. I care about calling somebody what they really are and what they're really comfortable with being. If you've got a question, ask. But these words here do nothing to help. Special needs, that's, I mean, it has its place. But as you can see for those who can see this, right across from all of those words is just the word blind. If you see somebody who's blind, they're just blind. Drop all the other stuff. Canes are not walking sticks. Canes are just white canes. They might be support canes. They might be a blind person's cane, which we tend to call a white cane. And as a matter of fact, October is Meet the Blind Month, and October 15th is White Cane Safety Day or White Cane Awareness Day. So when you see somebody with one, it's just a white cane. It's a blind person's cane. And by the way, our dogs, I use a guide dog. He is not a blind dog. I really want him to see. Super important. If he's guiding me, I want him to see. And yes, you can feel free to laugh at it. I do it all the time. Okay. And if I ask you for directions,
so don't feel bad.
if I'm asking you for directions and you just point and say over there, we are both just going to laugh at that eventually, because communication is a three-way street. That's what I tell people all the time. So just give me legit directions. Tell me it's to the left or to the right. Or if you're going to say over there, maybe point your body that way so I can at least tell where your voice went. If you can't tell left from right, or if you tell me left, I might say, do you mean that way or this way? And I'm going to point, because half the people I know don't know their left from their right, believe it or not. So those things are legit. And we can skip on to the next one real quick, and we will just talk a couple of really legit practicalities about being blind. I didn't even know that we were going to pick this one, but I love this slide, because the fact of the matter is, if you're blind, you don't know what somebody looks like. You go by the sound of voices, the accents, all kinds of other things. You may not understand that somebody is transgender. You might not get the bisexual. You might not get which one is Black, white, Latino. You might not care, in the sense that, I mean, not that you're denying a culture, but you're having a conversation with a person first, and all the other things come second. But I'm here to tell you, if we get it wrong, it's not because we don't care, it's because we don't know. So like we had a moment in one of our story circles where somebody was speaking, and for one of our people, he sounded white, but he identifies as Black. She didn't know. She couldn't see the visual, and she didn't know what his preference was. So she just said, I'm sorry, I thought you were white. I work in the theater a lot, and you might have somebody who, and one of my friends identifies as male and sounds incredibly female. And I had to say to him, please forgive me, it's going to take me a little while for me to get beyond the sound of the voice and get to the reality of the soul underneath. So just think about that. We don't get that visual identity. So once in a while you might have to say, oh, that's a guy, or that's a girl, or all kinds of things. I met a friend who was a dwarf, and I didn't know until I almost dragged her into my house, because I didn't realize she was standing on the top step and she really was that short. So sometimes the little education done in a respectful way goes a long way when you're supporting somebody who is blind in your story circle. I'm sure Brian might have a little other something, but I hope I went through those quickly for you.
Thank you, Marianne. We appreciate that. And the idea is that every group, every group is a multicultural group. That's what's important for us to know. When we come together in the story circle, we're bringing all of our cultural values, as well as our heritage, our ethnicity, our socialization. Every individual is unique and different. And so what we do in the story circle community is that we have dialogues, we have trainings and education where we have discussions about who we are, how we show up, and how to treat people with dignity and respect. And we review the cultural competencies. And Marianne just gave you a clip of the kind of education she was able to provide our story circle community.
I just have one quick question. Can I ask it?
Yes, please.
I'm a certified peer specialist with the Office of Mental Health in New York. I did like all 35 modules of Academy of Peers, and I was wondering if, because I can charge Medicaid for my services, if I could be like a freelance story circle peer.
Yes, you don't have to go through all 35 anything. All you need to do is come to our community, come to the story circles that we offer online, and be a part of our community. And we can make sure you have that link and you can participate in our story circles. And
What a
if you're
great cue.
yeah.
I just put that in the chat. That
Okay.
Our next story circle is Thursday, October 9th at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Central Time, as well as Saturday, October 24th at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Central Time. Please check out poetryforpersonalpower.org for more information, or our social media channels.
Exactly. So with that said, in respecting time, we're going to go ahead and close out the workshop. And if you want.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I very quickly want to say that to the young lady at Pros, you're in the perfect environment to be creative and get something like this going. And I also wanted to say that you know, I love the story circles, because when I come out of a story circle, I come out feeling like I've done something for myself. And through story circles, after many years of being in treatment, I couldn't call it care. In treatment, I've come to understand that, yes, only through story circles did I come to understand that, yes, I do have a diagnosis, mental health diagnosis, mental illness, as they call it. I may have mental illness, but I live practicing mental wellness, you know, and I really want to thank all of you. I'm putting something in the chat that I would like for Brian or my wonderful Deborah to read out loud. Or I could just state it really quick, you know, not meaning to get off topic. You know, we, NYAPRS, support the Story and Wellness Circles. We're so proud and wonderful to have Deborah, who officially made NYAPRS national. Clap, clap, clap. But the NYAPRS Cultural Competence Committee proudly announces that we have an open recruitment going on right now. We meet every third Thursday of the month at 1 p.m. by Zoom teleconference. Anyone interested can contact Deborah or NYAPRS organization. We'll gladly put you in touch with the right person to invite you to a call. And with that, I'd like to say good night. We'd love to have you, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I appreciate that. And on behalf of the P3 team, on behalf of, I said, I was thanking Teresa. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time out to be a part of the workshop. And if you need any support, technical assistance or support in getting a story circle started in your organization, we'd be glad to work with you on that. And we also want to extend, again, an invitation to you to participate in our story circle, so that way you can get opportunity to work on your own wellness, and also to get more familiar with the story circle process. And so I hope that you enjoyed the presentation and were able to get what you needed out of it. And we're going to close at this point. And